You know how it is. You go to a party and there is approximately 30 people that you are supposed to meet at night. There is no chance for you to remember those names. So how are you actually gonna go about it? Let me tell you a couple of tips that can help you in the long run. You definitely have been there. You introduce yourself to someone and in like 20 seconds you realize that you have no idea what they're called, and it's kind of awkward to ask immediately right now. First things to do is to be aware of these moments when they happen, that we are running on an autopilot. When we are going on autopilot, we are forgetting to listen to important cues in a conversation. Our brain is a pattern machine, and if it recognizes a pattern that it knows, it goes to a habit and stop thinking. Such as when you get yourself introduced to someone, you have done it a million times. This means your brain goes on autopilot, and as a result, you are not thinking when you're doing it. It's good for saving energy and it's a good survival mechanism we have from the past. However, it can backfire on you in these moments when you're actually supposed to remember someone's name. So instead, it's easier said than done, but try to be focused next time when you're introducing to someone. Don't think, what am I gonna say? Don't think, what will they think of me? Don't think steps ahead. Think right now, what is this person's name? Try to focus on it. I know it sounds a little simple, but this step can already get you quite far. Which brings us to the second topic. If you are introducing yourself to one person, use their name once they give it to you. The good rule of thumb is, of course, use it 3 times in the first 3 minutes, but if you don't want to be so specific, you can just keep the name in mind while having conversation, and definitely before you're gonna disperse the conversation with this person with the introduction, say the name a couple of times. It can be in any kind of situation, just double checking like, oh, what do you think of it, Norman? Anything really goes. So use it a couple of times and remember it from the beginning. This will help you in the long run, especially if you are talking to more than one person. It's quite helpful when you have, let's say, 2 people, 3 people. It becomes a bit more challenging when you get to a group of people with, let's say, as I mentioned in the beginning, party of 30 people. How are you gonna remember 30 names? You cannot just be selling the names all the time. I'm gonna get back to that in a second. Anyway, when you are introducing yourself to a couple of people, first thing is to use the repetition of the name. You can always do that, but without making it a little bit suspicious looking, you can also just try to let them have a conversation. Maybe some two people are speaking between each other. While they are talking, you can repeat in your head the name that you have just been introduced, name A, B, C, D, and you can just repeat them one after another, after another, after another, a couple times. Make it into a song if you want. Just repeat several times the name of the people that you have met, and you will be able to remembering them, because you will have this little funny tune that you came up with in your head. Same thing happened to me actually once I was on a party and just overheard people speaking the same language, so I went to speak to them, had a conversation, they introduced themselves to me, and what I did is, since this was a party, we were dancing, I didn't have to have a deep conversation with them on the spot, but I wanted to remember their name. So I just matched their names into the beat that the DJ was playing, and I just did like, nah. There are 4 people. So I just matched it into that, and by the end of the party, when I was just talking to them, they actually were impressed because they couldn't remember my name, and I was a single person who could introduce them, and I knew them all by heart because I just had that silly tune in my head. So they already got put their foot into the door, and they became actually my friends. I came to see them in a different country. Really, really good memory just from remember someone's name. Another good tip, which personally tend to be a little bit more difficult for me in a setup with a lot of people, but I have seen it being used successfully in setup with a lot of people, is using a memory hook. Memory hook can be simply something that you attach to the person with the name. It can be first letter of their name being connected to another word that shows you or reminds you how they look, or any other way. Let me give you an example. My teacher in my university, for first day of our university, got all of us introduced. 33 people, I believe. At the end of our introduction, she successfully repeat all of our names, and I was pretty amazed. So I asked her after class, how did you do that? She actually told me, I used the memory hook, remembering every one of you. As an example, you see Michael over there? He has bald head. I have a friend whose name is Martin, who also has a bald head. She connected those 2 people, Martin Bald, Michael Bald. And I know it sounds silly, but it worked for her, and it worked for me so many times. It's not my favorite method to use. I prefer to use the repetition of the names, but it's something that you can be using if this works better for you. I personally struggle with it when it's like 30 people, when there's a lot of people coming on. Can be a little bit of challenge, but this is up to you to decide. I'm just here to hook you up with information. Lastly, in our fictional setup, you are going to the party when you're introducing yourself to 30 people, let's say. Can be more, can be less, it does not matter. What you can do, or what you can utilize, is that nobody is forcing you to enter the room and introduce yourself to everyone in the moment immediately. What you can do is, let's say you go to a party and you have one friend there in this fictional scenario that you know. So go to him, he's already speaking to 3 other people. You speak to them, you introduce yourself to 3 new people, you use the tricks that we spoke about before, maybe a memory hook, definitely repetition, and use their names in your sentences. You will remember this small group of people. This took you 10 minutes, and then you hop on to the next one. Oh, I'm gonna introduce myself to another people. Then you see another group of people, 2 girls, 2 guys, having a chat. You hop in, start chatting with them. Again, you use the same techniques, introduce yourself in a short time to this amount of people, 4 people in this matter, and you might, if you want to stay there for half an hour, you have a good conversation. And then when you hop on to the next one, you introduce yourself again to small amount of people. As you can see, what we're doing here is not overload yourself in the mechanism where you just have to remember 30 names. It is possible, you don't have to be doing it though. You can very fluently go from a group of friends to another group of friends and just meet more and more people piece by piece, so you make it easier for yourself to remember smaller amount of names rather than overwhelm yourself with a huge amount of names in one go. And look, towards the end of the party and end of the night, you will be introduced to everyone. But you know how it is, you're gonna hang out with the people you like the most, so you end up knowing everyone and choosing the people you wanna hang out with and spend time. So that's an absolute win, and you will leave the room like an absolute baller. Everybody will think that you are cool, because I know you are, and you have to just prove it to them. That's gonna be all for the first video I have posted. I just wanted to share a little bit of thoughts on how to remember people's name, and now you know a couple of tips and tricks how to be enjoying your next party a little bit better. Have fun.